It was a scorching July afternoon, July 12th, 2021, when the demolition crew at Phoenix West High School began clearing out the old gymnasium's equipment rooms. Daniel Ross, 48, an experienced demolition manager who had overseen dozens of school and public building projects across Arizona for over 2 decades, was supervising the team. He was methodical, precise, and highly professional, accustomed to peeling back decades of concrete, wiring, and memories. But nothing in his long career could have prepared him for what he was about to uncover. As the afternoon sun beat down through the dusty gymnasium windows, Ross pried open a section of wall that had long been sealed behind the main equipment room. This wall, unlike any others in the facility, was thick, cold concrete, reinforced far beyond what the architectural plans suggested. The crew had joked earlier about hidden secrets behind old walls, but now that joke felt terrifyingly real. When Ross shone his flashlight through the hole he'd made, his stomach dropped. There, in the dim, narrow space, lay a human skeleton, fully clothed in a faded red and white basketball uniform. Scattered around were worn basketball shoes, a tattered sports bag, and the faint remnants of equipment that had clearly been left undisturbed for decades. Ross staggered back, his heart racing. He called his crew over with a voice trembling but urgent. Everyone froze, eyes wide, staring at the stark scene. The air felt suddenly heavier, thick with the weight of the past. "Call the police. Right now," Ross demanded, stepping back as the reality set in. Within the hour, Phoenix Police Department had swarmed the site. Patrol cars, sirens wailing, arrived first, followed by Detective James Harlow in his unmarked vehicle. Harlow, 44, had spent 19 years on the force, the last 8 devoted to cold cases. He had seen grief, desperation, and the invisible scars left behind when someone vanished without explanation. Walking into the sealed storage area, he carefully observed the skeleton lying on its side, knees slightly bent in a fetal position. The skull showed evidence of blunt trauma, a clean, deliberate strike, and the faint traces of sweat, hair, and blood had survived the decades in the sealed environment. A silver bracelet engraved with IG glinted faintly in the beam of Harlow's flashlight. This was more than a discovery. It was a message frozen in time. Forensic teams moved with deliberate care. Every inch of the space was photographed, measured, and catalogued. Concrete samples, hair strands, and organic materials were collected with meticulous precision. The skeleton's uniform, still identifiable as a red and white basketball jersey with number 23, and the worn Nike shoes, told the story of a young athlete who had been here, who had trained here, and whose dreams had been violently cut short. Every artifact was sent to the Arizona State Forensic DNA Laboratory, where a painstaking comparison against the state database began. When the results came back, the shock rippled across the community. The DNA confirmed what nobody had dared speak aloud for more than 2 decades. The skeleton was Isabella Maria Garcia, the high school basketball star who had disappeared on Friday night, October 13th, 2000. The thought of 21 years gone without answers, 21 years of grief for a family whose daughter had been stolen from them, made even hardened detectives uneasy. The case had gone cold decades ago, files gathering dust in the school's archives, memories of the girl preserved only in photographs, and the hearts of those who loved her. Isabella was born on March 5, 1982, to Maria and Carlos Garcia in Phoenix. Maria, a dedicated nurse, and Carlos, a construction worker, had raised their family in a modest southern Phoenix neighborhood. Isabella's older brother Miguel, 3 years her senior, had adored her, protective of her energy, her talent, her dreams. From the earliest age, Isabella had been unstoppable. She ran, jumped, and played basketball tirelessly. By 8, she was on organized teams. By 12, she had won her first tournament. By 15, she had been recognized as the most valuable player at the state youth championship. At Phoenix West High School, she became a star almost immediately, the center of attention for her skill, dedication, and heart. Her closest friend, Sarah Chen, had been by her side for years, training alongside her, studying with her, dreaming together of the future. Isabella's life, her goals, her ambitions were crystal clear. She wanted to play in college, earn a scholarship, and make her mark on the world. She was 18 years old in 2000, a high school senior on the brink of realizing everything she had worked toward. And yet, in the darkness of the gymnasium, one person had been waiting for her, silently, obsessively, with a plan so sinister it defied imagination. Thomas Edward Wright, the gymnasium custodian, had been at Phoenix West High School since 1978. Born in 1958, Thomas had lived a quiet, solitary life. He had been briefly married at 45 but divorced quickly with no children. A withdrawn man, he preferred the company of walls, floors, and ceilings to people. Yet he had watched, over decades, as young women and athletes passed through the gym. Something about Isabella, about her energy, her presence, consumed him. Over months, his quiet observation evolved into obsession. He knew her routines, her practice schedule, her breaks. He watched her through windows and from the shadows of the corridors. October 13th, 2000 had started like any other Friday. Isabella woke at 6 a.m., drank her orange juice, and went about her school day. Evening practice was scheduled for 7 p.m. as usual, and Maria drove her daughter to the gym at 6:40 p.m. The session ran on schedule, full of sprint drills, shooting practice, and defensive work. Isabella was in perfect form, focused, energetic, unaware of the danger lurking just steps away. At 9:15 p.m., practice ended, and players returned to the locker room. Isabella, sweaty and tired, wrapped herself in a towel, preparing for a shower. Then Thomas Wright appeared, ostensibly to show her a set of new basketballs that had just arrived in the back storage area. He insisted it would only take 5 minutes, promising it would improve her three-point shot for tomorrow's game. Hesitant but trusting the familiar custodian, Isabella followed him down a narrow, dark corridor. The room they entered was small, deserted, and suffocatingly quiet. Isabella began to sense that something was wrong when Thomas confessed there were no new basketballs at all. He approached her, voice low, possessive, telling her he had been watching her for years, that she was special to him. Fear surged through Isabella, and she tried to retreat, pleading to leave, but Thomas was faster, stronger. He seized her, silencing her screams with brutal force. A metal pipe became the instrument of a single devastating blow. Isabella fell unconscious, her bright future extinguished in an instant. Thomas worked with methodical, chilling efficiency. He dragged her body into a small storage area, sealed it behind a newly constructed concrete wall, and left her locker untouched so that everyone would assume she had simply gone home. The school continued its routines, unaware that tragedy had taken place in its very walls. For 21 years, Thomas Wright walked the corridors, attended memorials, comforted Isabella's family publicly, all while hiding the darkest secret the school would ever hold. And then in July 2021, the wall finally gave way. A demolition crew, unaware of history and grief, discovered the hidden chamber. DNA tests confirmed what everyone feared but could not prove. Isabella Maria Garcia had been inside all along. Detective Harlow's team worked quickly, tracing DNA evidence, matching concrete samples, and corroborating Wright's presence at the scene. When confronted, Thomas Wright, now 63, could no longer hide the truth. He confessed everything, describing the events of that fateful October night in meticulous detail, revealing 21 years of darkness. The discovery of Isabella Garcia's skeleton sent shockwaves through Phoenix. News spread quickly. A beloved basketball star, missing for 21 years, had been found inside her own high school gymnasium. For Maria Garcia, Isabella's mother, the world seemed to stop. Her hands trembled uncontrollably as she held the police officer's clipboard for a DNA sample, a painful mix of relief and sorrow coursing through her veins. She had prayed for answers for more than 2 decades, and now, finally, the truth had emerged, horrifying and undeniable. Detective James Harlow coordinated the investigation with an intensity matched only by his need to deliver justice. DNA analysis had provided the key. But it was only the beginning. Forensic teams meticulously re-examined every fragment from the sealed storage room, the concrete blocks, remnants of mortar, the faded basketball uniform, the sports bag with its water bottle and towel. Each item told a story of a life stolen, carefully hidden, and preserved in silence for over 2 decades. Sweat, hair, and skin cells gave definitive proof. Thomas Edward Wright, the gymnasium custodian, had been there. Every trace of DNA, from Isabella's hair to Thomas's sweat on the wall, was irrefutable. Harlow's next step was contacting retired Detective Michael Rodriguez, who had originally investigated Isabella's disappearance in 2000. Rodriguez, now 65 and retired in Scottsdale, answered Harlow's call with a mixture of nostalgia and lingering regret. "I never forgot that case," he said slowly. "She was such a bright, promising girl. We searched everywhere months, years, but nothing. No trace at all. I've thought about her every day." Rodriguez recalled Wright as calm, cooperative, and helpful during the original investigation. He had been on every search team, attending every meeting and interview. At the time, nothing appeared suspicious. The custodian's demeanor had disarmed everyone, making the unthinkable all the more possible. "We never would have suspected him," Rodriguez admitted. "He was trusted by staff and families alike. I thought he cared. I never imagined." His voice trailed off. Meanwhile, Detective Harlow and his team began cross-referencing years of school records, employee histories, and facility maintenance logs. Wright had been a fixture in the school for decades, known for his quiet diligence. Yet, through this very invisibility, he had hidden the most heinous secret Phoenix West High School had ever seen. Every parent, every coach, every teammate had unknowingly passed by the scene of Isabella's murder, unaware that she had been sealed behind that reinforced wall all along. In the days that followed, Harlow worked closely with Dr. Rachel Kim, a genetic genealogy specialist. Together, they reconstructed Isabella's complete DNA profile, confirming her identity beyond doubt. The matching profile to Wright was clear and conclusive. It left no room for denial. When confronted, Thomas Wright, now 63, opened the door of his small Phoenix apartment that sweltering July morning, calm, almost resigned. "Thomas Wright, you are under arrest in connection with the murder of Isabella Garcia," Harlow said. Wright's response was chilling in its quiet acceptance. 21 years, he whispered. "I knew this day would come." At the station, faced with irrefutable evidence, he confessed. He described in meticulous, haunting detail the events of that Friday night, October 13, 2000. He had lured Isabella to the equipment room under the pretense of showing her new basketballs that could improve her three-point shot. Once isolated, his obsession, years in the making, erupted violently. He struck her with a metal pipe, dragged her body to the hidden storage room, and spent hours sealing her inside with concrete and blocks. He admitted he had returned to clean the gym, attending to his duties and helping with memorials for Isabella, all the while hiding the truth from everyone. The confession stunned the entire Phoenix community. The sheer audacity and cold calculation of Wright's actions shook families and former students. How could someone so trusted have carried such darkness for more than 2 decades? How had he convinced so many that he was a devoted custodian and friend to the community while hiding the crime in plain sight? The Garcia family, however, began a journey of cautious relief and devastating grief. Maria, who had lived for 21 years with the constant pain of uncertainty, finally knew what had happened to her daughter. She mourned Isabella with a sorrow deepened by years of unanswered questions, but there was also a measure of closure. Miguel, her older brother, felt the same mix of grief and bitter vindication. The discovery of Isabella's remains allowed the family to confront the truth, no matter how horrific. Harlow's investigation extended beyond the DNA. They cataloged all the items in the storage area, reconstructing the meticulous care Wright had taken to ensure the space remained undetected. Photographs and measurements confirmed the confined area's dimensions: 7 feet wide, 9 feet long. The placement of the skeleton, the bag, the shoes, and the towel were consistent with Wright's confession. Every detail fit the narrative, leaving no doubt about his culpability. The community watched in disbelief as the trial approached. News outlets chronicled the decades-long mystery, airing interviews with former teammates, coaches, and teachers. Former students recalled Isabella's vibrant energy, her laughter, and her dedication. They spoke of Wright's friendly demeanor, his reliability, and the tragic betrayal that had gone unseen for so long. The courtroom was tense as Wright entered. At 63, he appeared older than his years, but the weight of his actions hung heavily over him. Harlow, Rodriguez, and Dr. Kim testified. Evidence included DNA results, photographs of the storage area, concrete samples, and the reconstructed timeline of Isabella's final moments. Witnesses described Wright's obsession, his manipulation of the school environment, and his public persona that allowed him to evade suspicion for decades. During his confession on the stand, Wright's voice was eerily calm. He admitted his fixation, his actions, and the cold logic of covering up Isabella's murder. "I don't know why I did it," he murmured. "Something inside me broke that night." The jury listened in stunned silence. 21 years of waiting, hopping, and mourning culminated in this moment. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. The judge, looking directly at Wright, spoke words heavy with finality. "You took a young woman, Isabella Garcia, who was innocent, talented, and full of life. You betrayed the trust of an entire community. You will spend the rest of your life in prison without the possibility of parole." Wright remained silent as he was led away, a man whose outward calm had masked decades of darkness. The aftermath of the trial saw the Phoenix community reckoning with the long shadow of Isabella's murder. Phoenix West High School was rebuilt completely, modernized, and renamed in her memory. A bronze plaque was installed in the new gymnasium: Isabella Maria Garcia, 1982 to 2000. Her name became a symbol of talent lost, of innocence betrayed, and of the power of perseverance to finally reveal the truth. Maria Garcia, holding onto photographs and memories, placed flowers at the plaque. Her eyes, red from tears, reflected the long path of grief she had endured. "My daughter was 18, she said quietly. "Thomas Wright took her from me, but now at least we know. Her memory lives on." Miguel, her brother, stood beside her, silent, watching students practice in the gymnasium that Isabella would never walk into again. Detective Harlow closed the case file with a mixture of satisfaction and sorrow. Justice had finally been served, but it could never restore the life stolen, nor erase the years of pain endured by Isabella's family. Yet, in the renewed gymnasium, in the lives of young athletes who trained in her honor, her story lived on. Every shot made, every game played, carried a memory of the young girl who had dreamed of a future that was cruelly taken away, but whose memory refused to be forgotten. The trial of Thomas Wright began in September 2021 at the Maricopa County Superior Court. Courtrooms were packed. Former students, teachers, community members, and the Garcia family filled every available seat. The air was tense, heavy with years of grief, hope, and finally, the pursuit of justice. Maria Garcia, holding a small framed photo of Isabella, sat quietly in the front row, her hands gripping it tightly. Her older son, Miguel, beside her, stared straight ahead, silently steeling himself for what he knew was inevitable. Judge Elena Rodriguez presided over the case. She was a stern but fair jurist, respected in the county for her dedication to victims' rights. She opened proceedings by acknowledging the gravity of the crime. "This case represents the loss of a young life, the devastation of a family, and the betrayal of trust by someone placed in a position of authority. Let the proceedings commence." The prosecution's case was powerful and undeniable. Detective Harlow presented detailed evidence: photographs of the sealed storage room, DNA matches to Thomas Wright, concrete samples, Isabella's personal items preserved for 21 years, and a meticulously reconstructed timeline of the murder. Dr. Rachel Kim testified about the DNA profiling and genetic genealogy, explaining in clear terms how science uncovered the truth after 2 decades. Former teammates and coaches recounted Isabella's talent, dedication, and infectious energy. Sarah Chen, her closest friend, tearfully described the girl she had grown up with. Isabella was my sister in every way. She dreamed big. She wanted to make a difference, not just on the court, but in life. To know she was taken from us like this, it breaks my heart. The defense attempted to argue diminished responsibility, portraying Wright as a troubled man with obsessive tendencies, but the evidence of premeditation and the calculated concealment of Isabella's body made their argument futile. Wright's own confession, coupled with the overwhelming forensic evidence, left no doubt about his guilt. When the verdict was finally read, silence filled the courtroom. Guilty on all counts of first-degree murder. Gasps echoed through the room. Maria Garcia sobbed openly, tears streaming down her face. Miguel held her close, whispering, "It's over, Mom, justice is here." Wright, pale and expressionless, was led away. The judge pronounced his sentence, life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Outside the courthouse, the community struggled to reconcile the man they had trusted for decades with the monster revealed by science and confession. Former students reflected on the years of practice, the games, the memories that had unknowingly taken place mere feet from the crime scene. Former staff members expressed horror and guilt, knowing they had passed by the storage area countless times, unaware of what lay behind the sealed wall. In Phoenix West High School, the new gymnasium opened in 2022. Named the Isabella Garcia Memorial Gymnasium, it featured modern basketball courts, training facilities, and a commemorative bronze plaque honoring her life. Inscribed were her birth and death dates, 1980 to 2000, and the words, "Her dreams were stolen, but her memory lives on." Students and athletes who trained there learned her story, carrying forward the lesson that talent, dedication, and life itself can never be taken lightly. Maria Garcia established the Isabella Garcia Foundation, dedicated to supporting young female athletes in Phoenix. Scholarships, mentorship programs, and awareness campaigns about safety and trust in schools became the foundation's mission. "I want Isabella's story to save other children," Maria said in a televised interview. "No family should have to wait 21 years to know the truth." For Detective Harlow, the case became one of the most memorable and haunting of his career. He reflected on the persistence of forensic science, the evolution of investigative methods, and the patience required in cold cases. "This case shows that justice can take time, but it never truly disappears," he said. The story of Isabella Garcia became a cautionary tale across Arizona. Schools reviewed their safety protocols, emphasizing accountability for all staff and thorough oversight of facility spaces. Parents and communities learned that trust, while important, must always be paired with vigilance. In May 2022, a memorial service was held at the Phoenix West High School courtyard. Former teammates, teachers, community members, and family gathered. White balloons were released into the sky, symbolizing freedom, remembrance, and hope. Maria placed a bouquet of red and white tulips at the bronze plaque, whispering, "I miss you, my daughter, every day." Miguel watched silently, feeling both the pain of loss and the relief of closure. Though Isabella's life had been cruelly cut short, her story inspired a city to remember her as more than a victim. She became a symbol of perseverance, the unbreakable spirit of young athletes, and the importance of truth finally revealed. Every dribble of the basketball, every game played in her honor, carried the memory of Isabella Garcia, the girl who loved the game, dreamed big, and whose memory refused to be forgotten. When the story is told today, the lesson is clear. Evil can hide behind familiar faces, but the persistence of truth, science, and human dedication can eventually bring justice. The Phoenix West High School community continues to honor Isabella, ensuring that though she was lost, she will never be forgotten. And for every young athlete stepping onto the court, the plaque reads silently, "Isabella Maria Garcia, 1982 to 2000. Dreams stolen but never forgotten."